Good evening. Yesterday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, in delivering a statement on tourism and economic recovery at the 9th Summit of the Americas being held in Los Angeles, California, said tourism can boost economic recovery.
I believe that tourism has a bright future. And I think that the tourism industry globally, though it has been shaken in the short term, I think in the long term, it will be a much stronger, a much more resilient, more sustainable, greener, and inclusive, and of course, profitable industry. And we can see why, because for the Caribbean region, tourism generated 2.8 million jobs, which is approximately 15.2% of employment in the region. It contributed approximately $60 billion to GDP, which is about 14% of the region's GDP. And visitors spent approximately $36 billion, which is equivalent to about 20% of exports from the region. So tourism means a lot to Jamaica. It means a lot to the region. During the pandemic, tourism, though there was a massive fall-off, the recovery in tourism, in Jamaica in particular, was actually significant in leading the general recovery of the economy.
Speaking at the summit that is being held under the theme, Building a Sustainable, Resilient and Equitable Future, Mr. Holness said one of the important practical lessons from the pandemic is the need for resilience and sustainability within the sector.
But I think there are some things that the pandemic would have taught us, not just the region, but globally. One, there needs to be stronger partnership between governments and private sector partners in tourism to plan and manage crisis. In our region, in the Jamaican example, in the initial stages, players were not quite certain what to expect. There was an immediate fall-off. But our government took a very proactive approach. We engaged the sector, and we put in place a program to ensure that we could support employees in the tourism sector. So even though visitor arrival fell dramatically, in some instances to zero, we still managed to cushion our tourism workers. And that was very important, to still keep them in tourism so that at the point of recovery, you're not struggling to find your workers to come back into the hotels.
Another lesson that Mr. Holness says can be learned from the pandemic is the need for greater linkages, particularly between the tourism sector and the rest of the economy.
Going forward, a stronger approach in having a plan to ensure the resilience of the industry, both from a human resource management point of view, from a public health point of view, and indeed to treat with any other form of crisis that may emerge, would be an important lesson to securing that bright future for tourism. Stronger coordination, stronger partnership. In Jamaica's case, this stronger partnership, stronger coordination emerged into what we call the resilient corridor. By the nature of Jamaica's tourism, we were able, during the pandemic, to put in special rules, even during lockdown periods, that allowed our tourism industry to operate, to recover, and even expand. And so I thought that I would point this out to this audience, that special relationships, special measures, a special regulatory framework worked very well for Jamaica between the government and the industry in ensuring that our industry could recover.
Mr. Holness asked for better coordination amongst governments in the region on how they will better deal with crisis and work towards a more uniform set of rules and regulations in efforts to make partners in the region functional.
Cruise ship arrivals. Different regions had different standards, which made it very difficult for cruise ships to navigate within the region. And so there has to be greater coordination amongst governments in the region about how they're going to treat with crises, the standards that they're going to set, and working towards a uniform set of rules and regulations to make it easier and seamless for our partners in tourism to function in our space. But I think that these are all lessons well learned, and I think all governments are, having had to work together during the pandemic, are now at a better place in terms of managing and coordinating regional efforts to ensuring that the industry is well supported.
The goal of the summit is to allow leaders of the Americas to openly discuss and identify solutions to their shared challenges and pursue opportunities for their collective prosperity.